Training camp is open, the dead of the offseason is almost over, and we've got to go through some top 30 running back rankings today. Just make sure to go down there, drop a like on the video, and subscribe to the channel to show your support. So I wanted to address it again, just in case you did not see the wide receiver rankings video. Yes, there has been a brand change here at Football Fantasy Network. We are now Fantasy Football Roundup. And again, I want to highlight the importance of this transition right here, because I have not been bought by a different company or a corporation. I am still the owner of Football Fantasy Network / now Fantasy Football Roundup, which means I am in control of the messaging here. Nobody is affecting my content and the way I talk about certain things. Everything is still going to be 100% authentic. But we've got something absolutely massive coming to you that has never been brought to the fantasy football space here in the next couple weeks to a month. And I've been working on it all offseason because it's going to be the most amount of value that I've ever brought to you guys. And I'm so excited to reveal it. That's all I can say right now, though. Just make sure to stay tuned. So now that we've got it out of the way, let's get into our rankings right here. So in Tier 1, these are the guys that I think particularly have the best shot at finishing at the running back one, with Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, and Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, with Bijan Robinson, I did end up making this switch here about 2 months ago when I just said to myself, listen, Bijan Robinson is just a younger player coming off less of a grueling workload than Saquon Barkley is. It's not that I don't think Saquon is going to be really bad this year or doesn't have a shot to finish as the number one. But there is a lot of statistics and a lot of history that are against Saquon right now. Saquon Barkley is part of research that I did over the offseason about running backs who have had 350 plus touch seasons over the last 11 seasons in fantasy football. Because essentially what I wanted to find was how many of those guys were able to replicate that production or even get close to it. And the bottom line is that research typically was not very favorable to running backs with 350 plus touches. It either added up to injury the following season or just less volume to a really big standout of like 60 less touches. So with Saquon, I just see more issues than I see with Bijan because he's a more injured player historically, and he's just a little bit older, but I think that he's still great as well. That's why I've got him at 2. And then with Jahmyr Gibbs at 3, this is a situation where he's in an offense that I don't think is going to be particularly affected too much just because they have so much talent. Now, obviously they are losing Ben Johnson at the offensive coordinator spot and Frank Ragnow at the center position. Now, both of those definitely hurt the overall production of the offense. But with the Ben Johnson loss in particular, I actually think that it could be good for Jahmyr Gibbs in a way, because I believe that there will be more of an emphasis to get him the ball particularly and less on David Montgomery. So Jahmyr Gibbs, we might see him get more goal line work. We might see him get more workhorse opportunities as a whole rather than having David Montgomery come in on certain plays and in certain packages. I just think that Jahmyr Gibbs is in line for an elite season this year. Now, dropping down to our next tier, I've got Josh Jacobs at 4 still and Ashton Jeanty at 5. Now, with Josh Jacobs, the thing I always like to highlight on this one is look at his underdog value. It's just ridiculously low, and it's been like this the entire offseason. Like, he has been the running back 10 on underdog since I can remember, and he's not that much higher on ESPN and on Yahoo redraft leagues. Like, Josh Jacobs, to me, if you want just a hero running back draft strategy to work with in 2025, Josh Jacobs in the second, third round is an elite option. Josh Jacobs is on a great offense still with Green Bay, running behind a great offensive line, and with an offense overall that is just really, really good with a great offensive mind. Josh Jacobs, to me, is going to run it back again. And then with Ashton Jeanty here, listen, I think that there's definitely a world where he is the number 3 running back in fantasy. I don't see number 1. And that's the reason I've ultimately got him down here below Josh Jacobs at 5 in the second tier, is because I always look at this one, and it makes me remember Najee Harris's rookie year. So for those of you who weren't playing fantasy football by then, Najee Harris got drafted to the Pittsburgh Steelers in the first round in 2021. Well, Najee took a bunch of work that year, 350 plus touches, and he was a top 3 running back in full PPR formats. But the problem was that he was not efficient at all, and he really didn't get in the end zone a terribly great amount. So with Najee Harris and Ashton Genty, I think those 2 rookie seasons might comp each other because Ashton Genty will get stupid amounts of work. There's no question the volume's going to be there. I worry about the efficiency behind that offensive line. And I just don't know if I could see much greatness out of him in year 1 as far as 30, 35-point games. I think there's going to be a lot of 20, 15-point games, which is good. And I think he'll be consistent at doing that. But I don't see tons of major winning weeks in his first year behind that offensive line. Number 6, Christian McCaffrey, Devon Achane. I'll just say this about McCaffrey. This is easily the riskiest pick in all of fantasy football this year. Easily. And I'm not even ranking him properly. Like, I'm just telling you right now, Christian McCaffrey will either be the running back 1 or he will be a disaster. There's no in between here. Number 6, realistically, isn't very likely for Christian McCaffrey. It's 1 or disaster. This is just where I'm comfortable at right now. Because with Christian McCaffrey, I don't think I can fully buy on board with him just based off offseason videos that we're seeing him do in football and shorts. Like everything you're seeing out of training camp in San Francisco is propaganda as far as I'm concerned. They're trying to act like, oh, nothing ever happened. He looks great. It's like, yeah, we all know what happened last year. So I want to buy in, and I'm going to keep drafting him an underdog, particularly for that upside. But I'm not really super wild on taking him in a redraft league unless he really falls to me towards the back of the first. And then with Devon Achane here at 7, I just think is a great player who has all the upside in the world from the receiving perspective, and in full PPR leagues, I think he's a fantastic option. I just don't think that the Miami Dolphins will be very good this year. And I've said that a bunch. I think they have a chance to be one of the worst teams in the NFL, actually. And that offensive line he's running behind, it's bad. And I just don't know if I could see much help from other running backs to take pressure off him, which is good in a way in fantasy because he'll handle a bunch of work. But at the same time, I just worry about Devon Achane's efficiency for a second year straight. And that's the reason I've got him here at 7. But I think he's going to be great. Dropping down to our next tier, I've got Kyren Williams at 8, Derrick Henry at 9. Now, with Kyren Williams, I did actually end up moving him up a little bit. And there's really just kind of a situation going on, which is that he wants a contract, but it's not been like a big struggle, right? Like it's not the Terry McLaurin situation. It's not the Micah Parsons situation. Like the guy's been practicing. There has been no discussion of a potential holdout, even in the offseason. Like it's always been Kyren Williams is going to be there and like I'll get the contract when I get the contract. Kyren is also, again, just a part of a really good offense that I believe in. The Los Angeles Rams, they know how to run the ball well. Kyren Williams has been a dog, particularly at the red zone. And I just don't know if I see Jarquez Hunter or Blake Corum taking up significant opportunities at the goal line. Jarquez Hunter or Blake Corum might get involved this year. But at the goal line, I think that's where it counts the most for these Los Angeles Rams running backs. And Kyron's got a stranglehold on that. And then with Derrick Henry at 9, listen, this is also a little bit boom or bust. Like, Derrick Henry is either going to be the guy that we saw last year, and there was no reason to indicate that he would not be that guy last year because he was elite. Or he's going to be at that age, and he is at that age, by the way, where he just says, yeah, father time has come for me. And he's not going to be that good anymore. Again, the 9 ranking here for Derrick Henry is not accurate. It's where I'm comfortable ranking him. He's either going to be a top 3 back or he will not be very good. The Baltimore Ravens, though, there's just too many things on his side that make me feel comfortable enough to take him in fantasy drafts this year. Chase Brown at 10, Jonathan Taylor at 11. Now, with Chase Brown, I actually did move Chase Brown down a little bit. I originally had him at 8 the last time I did my running back rankings. And really, there's a couple reasons why I moved him down. Not because I don't think he's going to be good all of a sudden. I think he's going to be great still, especially in a full PPR format. But the problem that I'm seeing here is that when you look at this Cincinnati Bengals running back situation, right? They only drafted Taj Brooks, and that's the only running back move they really made in the offseason to add on to that running back room. Taj Brooks was widely regarded as the best pass blocking running back in the class. Now, you might say to me, Ryan, that makes no sense. Like, how does that affect Chase Brown's fantasy upside? It doesn't that much, but it does a little bit because you know what could happen, and it kind of looks like it might be that case. Taj Brooks could be a third down running back. I mean, this team has already discussed his pass blocking and how he's a really good receiving back as well. That indicates to me that they want to kind of take a little pressure off Chase Brown. And Vegas, on top of that, they're not predicting much for Chase Brown as far as his rushing upside. Chase Brown almost ran for 1,000 yards last year, even with not starting the first 3 games. And even this year, Vegas has his projected stat total, rushing yards wise, as under 900 yards. There's a reason they're seeing that. So with Chase Brown, I just wanted to move him down a bit, but I still think he's going to be great. Jonathan Taylor at 11, I also wanted to include him in this tier particularly because I do think that Jonathan Taylor will be a back that is going to give you tons of 25-plus point games. I think that that's where Jonathan Taylor is going to make a lot of people happy in fantasy this year because I also think there's going to be weeks where he doesn't do very good because I just don't believe in this Indianapolis Colts offense very much. So with Jonathan Taylor, I love the upside in certain weeks. I think there's going to be weeks where he is a pop player, and I think there's going to be down weeks as well. And I think it's going to be Daniel Jones, and I think that improves Jonathan Taylor's ceiling as a fantasy back. But if it is Anthony Richardson, there's no question that it takes away what he could do in the passing game. So I've got him here at 11, but still in tier 3. Dropping down to our next tier, James Cook at 12 and Bucky Irving at 13. Now, with James Cook, it's actually been really interesting because the early issue with James Cook was that, you know, he wants a contract as well, and people were worried about a holdout situation. Well, I've been saying this all offseason. Like, he was never going to hold out, and guess what? He's not. Like, he's actually at training camp, he's practicing, and his underdog price does not reflect that. His underdog price, I still think, is very, very affordable, and to me, could be another good value this year. And I do think that there will be some pullback from a rushing touchdown perspective because it was just so elite last year. And I think they're going to throw the ball more this year. But with James Cook, he's still on an elite top 3 offense in the NFL. He's still a young player who's going to be wanting to get paid in all likelihood. And I think that adds up for a really good season. So I think with James Cook, it's worth the price on underdog in particular. Bucky Irving at 13. Listen, I've had my issues with Bucky all offseason, and it's not going away. And I'll tell you why. Because the new OC is discussing, Rachaad White is a good pass-catching back. He actually called him one of the best in the league, if not the best in the league. So my issue with Bucky Irving all offseason has not been the talent. My issue with Bucky has been a new offensive coordinator could easily change things up and not make Bucky the number 1 unquestioned. I do think that he will lead the team in carries by a long shot because he's the better back overall. But in the passing game, I think that Rachaad White will be involved. So I think that lowers his ceiling a little bit for me. And I've got him here at 13, and I'm going to keep him here until I see irrefutable evidence that Rachaad White is just a handcuff back. And I have not seen that yet. Amari Hampton at 14 had to rise, and Breece Hall at 15. With Amari Hampton, I think I might still even be a little low on this guy. And I love him. I loved Amari Hampton coming out of college. It's just a situation where it's like, with Najee Harris, we honestly, I'm not joking when I say this, we don't even know if the guy has an eye. Like, can anyone verify that? Is he still have 2 eyes, or does he have 1 eye now? Because he reported to training camp last week in sunglasses and a hoodie. He's on the NFI list. He's not practicing. So that would mean that Amari Hampton is probably looking like every single day more and more like the starting back immediately. But I do still think that Najee will be involved. So I think Najee is going to have involvement, which is going to cap Amari Hampton's upside. But the more and more time we go on with no Najee Harris news as far as him returning to practice, Amari Hampton is going to continue to rise up my rankings. Breece Hall at 15. Listen, it's just an offense I don't like. I love the player Breece Hall is. I think that he is a tremendous talent. But my problem with Breece is offensive upside and coaching philosophy. I mean, they have talked about all offseason, double running back strategy, triple running back strategy. Yeah, we want a 3-head monster, including Isaiah Davis. Makes no sense to me, but that's what the Jets do. The Jets will jet. So it's like, Breece Hall, realistically, how much upside does he have with a running quarterback with Justin Fields, right? I think Breece Hall will be efficient this year on his touches. I think he could get in the red zone, in the end zone more on big plays maybe. But I think with Breece Hall, there's just too many things working against him right now. I think Breece Hall has to be here at 15 for me. Kenneth Walker at 16 to round out this tier right here. I wanted to make a clear distinction of putting Kenneth Walker in this tier rather than a tier below him, right side by Chuba Hubbard, who, spoiler alert, is the number 17 running back for me at the top of tier 2, at the top of this next tier. But the reason I wanted to make this distinction right here is because I've been saying this a lot this offseason. I truly believe that Kenneth Walker, if healthy this year, is a top 5 back. Like, I'm not joking when I say this. Kenneth Walker has been a great player when he's been available for basically the entirety of his career. Obviously, the question is availability, and that's why I'm putting him at 16. But I do believe that with Clint Kubiak, the new offensive coordinator there, he wants to run the ball, and he's been talking about Kenneth all offseason about how important this guy is going to be. So when I look at these two prices for Kenneth Walker and Chuba back-to-back, top of the 5th round, bottom of the 4th round in underdog drafts, I'm going to take Kenneth every time because I just see more pop and more top 5 upside from Kenneth than I do with Chuba. And speaking of underdog, they're doing tons of drafts right now. Best Ball Mania is still open, $25 buy-in, $2 million prize to first place, $1 million to second. You could make life-changing money playing underdog, having fun doing it. I won $19,000 playing underdog best ball last year, so you should give yourself a shot by going down in their comments, grabbing the link that's there, and using code FFR to sign up for underdog, and they'll match your first deposit 50% up to $1,000 in bonus credits right here to get in on one of these drafts, or even a couple of them. Now, dropping down to our next tier. Again, Chuba Hubbard at 17 and Alvin Kamara at number 18. Now, with Chuba Hubbard, again, I do want to make that distinction. I don't think that Kenneth Walker is in the same tier as Chuba because I don't think that Chuba has top 5 upside where I can see it for Kenneth Walker. I think Chuba is going to be a good player, but I don't think he's going to provide you much more ceiling than where you're drafting him at right now. Like, I loved Chuba last year. If you're familiar with me, Chuba was my most drafted player last year because I saw what was coming for Chuba Hubbard. I loved him last year. It's just, you got to change things up. Like, and Chuba Hubbard is being respected now like he wasn't last year. And I just don't see Chuba Hubbard having much more upside than this, realistically, in this offense. And it's not that I don't think he'll be bad. Like, I do think that he will be a good player this year. In Carolina, I think he'll be the lead back. But with Chuba Hubbard, I think we've kind of maxed out the ceiling right here. And I've got him at 17 for that reason. Alvin Kamara at 18, I just think that everything rides on him. And it's not even a think situation. I know everything rides on Alvin Kamara. Like, it's going to be they sink or swim with Alvin Kamara. And that's such a bad philosophy to go into the season like that. If you're the Saints as an NFL team, counting on a 30-year-old running back. But the bottom line is Alvin Kamara still looks really good. Like, there's no reason to be concerned about, his play when he's on the field. The reason for concern is that they're going to ride this guy till the wheels fall off. And that's the real problem here, because I don't see a way he doesn't get injured if that's their philosophy. He's already been an injury-prone running back the last several years. That's why I've got him having him here at 18, because I think they will ride him to the end, and the end could come sooner than later, or if not the end, it's going to be an injury-riddled season to drop him here to 18. DeAndre Swift at 19 and Travion Henderson at 20. DeAndre Swift's price still blows my mind a little bit, to be honest with you, not just in underdog drafts, and it's low there. It's also low in ESPN and in Yahoo, and I'm telling you guys, this guy has top 15 upside. Like, it doesn't add up any other way. He's got Ben Johnson at offensive coordinator, arguably the best running coach in the entire NFL. They made significant upgrades to this offensive line. So it's like, there's just too much there for me to not put DeAndre Swift inside the top 20. Everything upgraded for him. Now, I get the perspective of like, is he that good of a player? I don't think he is particularly. But I also think that everything is there for a player like this to succeed, and I think he will. I think it's just inevitable. It's kind of just weird, again, that he's that low in everybody else's rankings. Travion Henderson at number 20. Listen, I love Travion coming into New England. I did not love him coming out of the draft. I was definitely outspoken about how I thought he was going to be overdrafted, but ever since the New England fit, I've really liked it. And I do think that Travion Henderson will still be a really good back in fantasy this year. The only concern I have with him is when I looked at Ramondre Stevenson's Vegas line and Travion Henderson's, they're like exactly the same. In fact, Ramondre is favored to outrush Travion Henderson by like 25 yards. And it's not that I think that you should listen to Vegas on everything. It very well could be a bluff situation on the part of Vegas here. But I do think that, it's interesting to see that line here. But at the same time, when you look at what Josh McDaniels is doing with him in training camp so far, he seems to love the guy. Like, his usage is just overall increasing on a daily basis, it looks like. And he's got lots of pass game usage already in training camp. So at the very least, he'll be a rookie year Alvin Kamara type of player. And if not, even better than that. So I think Travion Henderson is still going to be a really good player, but I did have to drop him a little bit just because of that. Joe Mixon at 21, James Conner at 22. Listen, I was talking to a buddy the other day about Joe Mixon and just why I can't seem to get on board with him ever. And obviously right now it makes it easier because of the injury. There's been reports that he's going to miss extended time with a nagging injury, and it doesn't look great at the start of the season. Like, he may miss week 1. But with Joe Mixon, realistically, I just have never been that big on Joe Mixon, even last year when I was wrong about him. I just am going to run it back again. I think Joe Mixon is at a significant disadvantage behind this Houston offensive line that somehow got worse from 2024, and that's a bad thing because they were already really bad. I think that Joe Mixon, at his age with this injury history, has a tough time making it through 15 games in the NFL season. But that being said, since he is dropping in underdog drafts right now, I'll probably take him a little bit just to buy on that dip. James Conner at 22 to round out this tier. I'm in a similar spot with Conner than I was with Mixon because of the injury-prone nature that James Conner is and the age. And again, I've kind of planted my flag a little bit on Trey Benson this year, being a breakout running back, and the team seems to think he will be as well. Not that James Conner won't be involved or won't be the 1A to the 1B Trey Benson in all likelihood. But with James Conner here, if I'm right and Trey Benson is the 1B, I struggle to see James Conner having the upside that he did last year when Trey Benson was kind of irrelevant. Dropping down to our next tier, Brian Robinson Jr. and Isaiah Pacheco. Look, there's a clear distinction of this tier as well because I don't see the amount of big upside for Brian Robinson Jr. I think Brian Robinson Jr. is actually going to be fine. Like, I think he will be a good pick for where you're getting him at in fantasy drafts. I think when he's on the field, he'll be a pretty good player for you, and he'll definitely get in the end zone at the goal line because he did last year. Like, I predicted that last year with Jaden Daniels that he would get in the end zone, and he did. But Brian Robinson Jr. just not an elite back overall and definitely had some injury concerns last year. So I think that a lot of the same of what we saw last year with Brian Robinson Jr. is what we will see in 2025, which isn't bad. Again, when he's on the field, he'll be fine. But Brian Robinson Jr., I just don't see him having this breakout season where he becomes all of a sudden a pure 20 to 25 carry type of game type of back. He's just not been that ever, and I don't think he will be again. And Isaiah Pacheco here. It's so weird, man. I just can't get behind this one. And I want to because obviously he's a Kansas City Chiefs running back. Looks like he'll be the running back one. There's just something in me telling me that this guy is not going to get the workload like he did before the injury and in his previous year. I just don't see it. He looked so bad when he came back. His efficiency dropped significantly. He did not look remotely like the same player before the injury, after the injury. So there's just something in me that's telling me it's going to be more of a committee with Kareem Hunt being involved at the goal line. And if he's involved at the goal line, good luck to Isaiah Pacheco returning top 24 value for you. I've got him here at 24 only because of the offensive upside. Caleb Johnson at 25, Aaron Jones at 26. Now, I'll get into Caleb because I love Caleb Johnson, the player. I liked him a lot more before he was a Pittsburgh Steeler, and that's counter narrative to most of the fantasy community, and I've been on this all offseason. I'm telling you guys, he will not be the running back one right away for Pittsburgh. And a lot of people seem to think that. Don't trust it. Listen, they've got Arthur Smith, number 1 as offensive coordinator. Yeah, we all know how much he loves a workhorse running back. Wink, wink. He doesn't. He screwed up Bijan Robinson's rookie year. That's hard to do. And Caleb is not that level of prospect. Number 2, this team likes Jalen Warren. They like him a lot. Before and after they drafted Caleb Johnson, Mike Tomlin was talking about how this guy is going to get tons of work in 2025. A massive step up for what he had in 2024. So if you just think Caleb Johnson's coming in here, waltzing right into the starting lineup, you are not paying attention to the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Trust me, I've been watching this team all my life. This is what they do. They bring their rookies on slow, unless it's Najee because he was a first-round freaking pick. Aaron Jones at 26, listen, Aaron Jones, I'm actually fine with him at his price. Every time I'm in a draft, though, I just find someone that I like the upside more. Like, I think Aaron Jones will be a top 30 back this year because they're going to use him about 15 times a game. But I think that's the cap because there's a reason they brought in Jordan Mason, who I like a lot this year in fantasy drafts because he's cheaper, and I think he will be the goal line back particularly and in between the 20s carries as well. But Aaron Jones will get lots of receiving upside. He will also get a lot of between the 20s upside as well, and he's the more explosive player. So I just think that there's a reason they brought in Jordan Mason to limit Aaron Jones' touches because he has been injury prone and he is at an age where it's not ideal to continue to ride this guy like a bell cow. Aaron Jones will be good. I just don't see him being great. Tyrone Tracy Jr. at 27 here to round up this tier. Listen, I'm all about Tyrone Tracy this year over Cam Scatterbo because there's a lot of metrics that indicate Tyrone Tracy Jr. has a really good year. He fit my unsuspecting league-winning running backs criteria to a T, and Cam Scatterbo actually is a back that I liked coming out of college. But Tyrone Tracy Jr., we already know that he's a more explosive player than Cam Scatterbo. He may not be as hard of a runner, but he is the more explosive player. Former wide receiver out of college, this guy can catch the ball as well, and so can Cam Scatterbo. But Tyrone Tracy Jr., the only real problem is that he was a fumble machine last year. So he worked on it this offseason, allegedly. We'll see if it holds up. Right now, I'm going to have him ranked over Cam Scatterbo, but I am getting a little nervous on this one based on reports that we've seen out of camp about how Cam Scatterbo is running with the team one in certain situations and in certain packages. Dropping down to our last tier, David Montgomery at 28 and Jerome Ford at 29. Now, with David Montgomery, I've been on this one all offseason. I'm out. I'm out on David Montgomery. I think that David Montgomery is in a bad spot this year, and it's time to jump ship. He's older. He's been injured a lot. He typically misses 3 to 4 games in a season. I've said this so many times. It's so hard for an offensive coordinator to maximize every single piece on their offense to their utmost ability. And Ben Johnson was able to do that. The problem is that this new offensive coordinator is just not going to do the same thing. So I just have a lot of trouble seeing Dave Montgomery have the same amount of upside this year without Ben Johnson that he did with Ben Johnson. I'm out on Dave Montgomery. And then Jerome Ford here at 29. Obviously, we've got to talk about the elephant in the room, which is Quinshon Judkins, who has not reported to training camp. He hasn't even been signed to a contract yet. He's the only second-round pick that has not been signed. Is it because he's looking for guaranteed money? Well, he's probably not anymore because the guy's in serious trouble right now. And I don't know the full story. I'm not going to get into it. But all I know is that Jerome Ford is probably going to be the lead back if Quinshon Judkins is not there. So with Jerome Ford, ironically, he also fit my unsuspecting league-winning running backs criteria very well. So with Jerome Ford, is there possibility that he could be a top 15 back this year? Unlikely, because there is the Dylan Sampson factor, but there is also a chance that he could be a really good steal in drafts this year. Because right now, like I said, it looks like he's the starting guy. RJ Harvey at 30 to round this out. I didn't have him in the top 30 originally. The last time I did these rankings, I made a change just because Denver is such a great offense. Like Denver, I want a piece of the Denver offense. Whether it's RJ Harvey, whether it's J.K. Dobbins, and even Audric Estime. But RJ Harvey probably has the most upside from particularly a pass catching situation out of any of the backs. The problem here is that in Denver, it's so quiet. Sean Payton runs it like the mob. Like, he tells everybody, don't tell nobody what's going on inside this building. Like, he won't tell anybody. That's how he likes it. He wants it to be a surprise, how he approaches every single thing in his offense. So it's no surprise that we're not getting any word out of training camp right now who looks like the lead back. It looks like RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins are getting the most time with the ones, but that could change in an instant. I just have RJ Harvey here at 30 as a stopgap for a Denver running back in general because I want in on one. So let me know what you think of the rankings in 2025 fantasy football. And if you want to see the top 30 wide receivers for 2025, click on this video right here.